Jerusalem has witnessed countless wars, sacred prayers, and rivers of blood, but hidden among its ancient stones lies a place that was never meant for victory, power, or conquest. A place born not from triumph, but from grief. Long after swords were lowered and banners removed, one man walked alone through the silent hills near Al-Aqsa, carrying a sorrow heavier than any armor. This was not a battlefield. This was Bait-ul-Ahzan, the House of Sorrows. A structure so quiet, so personal, that history almost forgot it. And yet, its story reveals something far more powerful than war, the moment when the conqueror's legacy collapsed into mourning. Tonight, we uncover the forgotten story of Bait-ul-Ahzan, its mystery, its pain, and the emotional aftermath of Jerusalem's greatest victory. When Salahuddin Ayyubi reclaimed Jerusalem in 1187 CE, the Islamic world celebrated a victory unmatched in moral and strategic magnitude. Cities echoed with prayers, poets wrote verses of triumph, and history crowned him a legend. But history often hides what followed next. Victory does not end war. It only changes its shape. After the cheers faded, Jerusalem became a city haunted by memory. Thousands had died. Kingdoms had shifted. And within this fragile peace, the Ayyubid household faced a silent collapse. The man who united armies, humbled crusader kings, and restored Al-Aqsa would soon leave behind a fractured inheritance. This emotional vacuum set the stage for Bait-ul-Ahzan, not as a building of stone, but as a response to unbearable loss. The city that symbolized victory also became the birthplace of grief. And it is within this contradiction that our story truly begins. In 1193 CE, Salahuddin Ayyubi died in Damascus, not as a king surrounded by gold, but as a man who left behind barely enough wealth for his burial. His death did not merely end a life. It shattered an empire held together by his will alone. His sons inherited lands, titles, and armies, but none inherited his authority. Among them, Al-Afdal Ali, the eldest, was thrust into leadership without preparation for the emotional storm that followed. Grief consumed him. Responsibility suffocated him. And Jerusalem, once liberated by his father, became a painful reminder of everything he had lost. Bait-ul-Ahzan emerged from this moment, not through royal decree, but emotional necessity. It was a withdrawal from the world, a silent protest against power, and a space where grief could breathe. Despite being mislabeled as a fort in later folklore, Bait-ul-Ahzan was never designed for defense. No battlements, no watchtowers, no military garrison. Its walls were thick, yes, but so were most Ayyubid structures of the era. What separated Bait-ul-Ahzan from fortresses was its intention. Forts project power. This place absorbed pain. Its location near Al-Aqsa gave spiritual proximity, not tactical advantage. It was not meant to repel enemies. It was meant to isolate a broken heir from the world. Calling it a fort misunderstands its soul. Bait-ul-Ahzan was architecture shaped by sorrow, not war. Al-Afdal's retreat to Bait-ul-Ahzan was more than mourning. It was a rejection of politics. Surrounded by rival brothers, internal conspiracies, and the impossible shadow of Salahuddin, Al-Afdal chose silence over strategy. Inside Bait-ul-Ahzan, leadership gave way to reflection. This withdrawal weakened his political standing, allowing other Ayyubid figures to rise. But history often misjudges retreat as weakness. In truth, this was a human collapse under impossible expectations. Bait-ul-Ahzan became a witness to prayers whispered in solitude and tears unseen by history books. Every stone of Bait-ul-Ahzan reflected restraint. The design avoided grandeur. Narrow spaces, limited openings, and subdued construction created an atmosphere of confinement and contemplation. Unlike palaces meant to impress or forts meant to intimidate, this structure was emotionally inward. It was built to silence the world. The absence of decoration spoke louder than ornamentation ever could. This was grief made physical, an architectural pause in a city that never slept. Jerusalem remembers its conquerors, but it forgets their tears. Bait-ul-Ahzan stands as a rare interruption in historical storytelling, a moment when a narrative stops glorifying power and begins acknowledging loss. While mosques echoed with prayers of victory, this place echoed with absence. It reminds us that history is not only written by swords, but also by sorrow. As dynasties changed, from Ayyubids to Mamluks to Ottomans, Bait-ul-Ahzan lost relevance. It was not strategic, not sacred enough for preservation, and not political enough to matter. Slowly, it faded into obscurity. Stones were reused. References became vague. What survived was not the structure, but its name, a whisper of grief buried under centuries of change. Bait-ul-Ahzan disrupts heroic narratives. It complicates victory. It humanizes legends. And history often avoids such discomfort. Chroniclers preferred battles, treaties, and rulers, not moments of emotional collapse. Yet this silence is exactly why Bait-ul-Ahzan matters. It reveals the cost of greatness. Bait-ul-Ahzan is not just a place. It is a metaphor. It represents the emotional aftermath of jihad, the loneliness of leadership, and the unseen price of responsibility. In Islamic history, it stands as a reminder that power does not shield the heart from grief. Today, Bait-ul-Ahzan survives only in memory, but its lesson remains alive. It tells us that even the greatest victories leave scars. That behind every legend stands a human being capable of breaking. And that sometimes the most powerful structures in history are not forts, but places where sorrow was allowed to exist.